Next we're going to use the Auto Roaster Auto Repeat Recipe Roasting Profile feature in the BeanGo Cube XPro app. Tap into the profile list. For today's demo, we're using the profile, La Flor del Café. The coffee we're roasting today is Guatemala Huehuetenango. Why this profile? Because these two coffees come from similar growing regions, so this profile works well as a reference for copying. Step 1. Weigh the beans. This profile is designed for 200 grams, so we'll measure out 200 grams of green coffee beans. Step 2. Load the beans. Next, pour the beans into the hopper on top of the machine. Then scroll all the way down and tap Start Preheating. This profile preheats to 200 degrees Celsius based on bean temperature, BT. Right now, the curve you see on the screen is only the preheating curve, not the actual roasting curve yet. If you're wondering why you can't adjust things like heat or airflow, that's because the roaster hasn't entered the roasting stage yet. On the screen, you'll see two lines. Green line, bean temperature. Orange line, environmental temperature. The roaster light turns on, which means preheating is in progress. The curve in the app updates in real time, so you can clearly see how the temperature rises. Right now, the bean temperature is close to 60 degrees Celsius. Preheating is controlled by PID, so as the temperature gets close to 200 degrees Celsius, you'll notice the curve starts to slow down and smooth out. Once it reaches 200 degrees Celsius, the machine will beep and a notification will pop up. You can close that message and continue preheating if you want. At the bottom, you'll see the time bar. Preheating is limited to a maximum of 20 minutes. During preheating, the only thing you can adjust is the temperature. You can also change trigger conditions, like when BT or exhaust temperature reaches a certain value. If you need to step away for a moment or answer a phone call, just tap Stop. The roaster will immediately exit preheating mode. The temperature is now close to 150 degrees Celsius. This roaster heats up very quickly. In most cases, it reaches 180 to 200 degrees Celsius in about 4 to 5 minutes. We're now at 170 degrees Celsius, and you'll see the curve start to flatten out. You might notice the heating light flickering on and off. Don't worry, that's totally normal. That's the PID system doing its job, fine-tuning the heat to keep things stable. This smooth rise actually helps create a more consistent preheat. Alright, we've now reached 200 degrees Celsius. You'll hear a beep and see a reminder saying the target temperature has been reached. You can close the message. At this point, you can either keep preheating a bit longer, or start roasting by loading the beans. Since this is the first batch on a cold machine, I usually like to preheat for 1 extra minute. At around 5 minutes and 10 seconds, we'll open the inlet and drop the beans in. Now let's open the bean inlet gate. You can quickly check that all the beans have gone into the drum, then close the gate. If you hear a continuous beeping sound, that means the inlet gate isn't fully closed. Every door and drawer on this roaster has a sensor, so if something isn't closed properly, the machine will let you know right away. Once the beans are charged, the screen switches to the roasting curve view. You'll see green line, bean temperature, BT. Orange line, environmental temperature, ET. Below that, there are 3 more curves. Red, heat power. Blue, airflow. Purple, drum speed. After the turning point, the machine automatically records the time and temperature. On the left side of the screen, tap the coffee bean icon. Here, you can manually mark yellowing, browning. Just tap when the change happens, and the system will save the time and temperature. If you tap by mistake, just tap again to cancel, easy. The roaster has a built-in microphone. Once it detects first crack, the system automatically records it for you. Another button on the left opens the parameter settings. Gray sections, already passed, can't be changed. Black sections, still adjustable. You can fine-tune upcoming stages anytime. At the bottom of the screen, you can adjust heat, airflow, and drum speed. For example, if you set heat to 75, the machine will smoothly adjust to that level. There's a sight glass on the roaster, lit by an orange infrared lamp. We recommend using a small LED flashlight to clearly see bean color and surface changes. That's why this roaster doesn't need a trier. If you want to smell the roast, the exhaust is close to the drum, so it's easy to catch the aroma as it develops. The temperature is now around 146 degrees Celsius, which is close to yellowing. Watch the beans through the sight glass. Once they turn yellow, tap the mark button to record yellowing. At the top of the screen, you can preset how first crack is detected. By crack density, or by number of crack sounds. Personally, I like to set first crack at the 8th crack. You have several options for ending the roast. When the discharge gate opens. When BT reaches a target temperature. A set time after first crack. By DTR, development time ratio, after first crack. A temperature increase after first crack. Or by second crack. I usually go with temperature increase after first crack, and set it to plus 15 degrees Celsius. The dotted line shows the reference profile. And the dark gray line is ROR, which shows how fast the temperature is rising. If your curve doesn't exactly match the reference, that's normal. To get nearly identical curves, you need the same coffee, same batch. Or use PID follow mode. In this demo, we're copying parameter points, not actively chasing the original curve. At around 195 degrees Celsius, you'll see a brown line appear. This represents first crack activity. Steeper line equals more frequent cracks. Flatter line equals more spaced out cracks. First crack has now passed 8 cracks, so the development phase begins. Our target is plus 15 degrees Celsius after first crack, which gives us a light to light medium roast. You can still adjust everything during development. If you want more airflow, just increase it and the fan responds immediately. If you feel the heat is dropping too much, you can boost the heat as well. Once we reach our target, the machine will prompt us to open the discharge gate. Turn the handle clockwise and pull it out. After dropping the beans, you can tap Open Profile to review the full roast profile. Take out the bean tray and pour the beans into the cooling tray. We recommend using the included heat-resistant gloves. Chaff collects in the chaff tray below. After each roast, remove it, clean it, and put it back. Slide the bean tray back in, close the door, and you're ready for the next batch. That's it. Once the beans are fully cooled, they're ready to brew and enjoy.